This is one of the most important sentences Karl Marx ever wrote, and it is the key to unlocking a level of human understanding that almost no one possesses. We are obsessed with the idea of reading people. We buy books on body language, we watch videos on micro-expressions. We try to decipher the hidden meaning behind a person's tone of voice, their eye contact, their nervous gestures. We believe that if we can just collect enough of these small personal clues, we can understand who a person truly is. We are searching for the secrets of the individual psyche. But Marx would tell us we are digging in the wrong place entirely. What if the most important clues about a person are not hidden in their subconscious tics, but are displayed openly in their everyday assumptions? What if the key to understanding someone isn't in their personality, but in their position within a system? Here is the radical thesis of a Marxist analysis. When you are reading a person, you are not actually reading an individual. You are reading a walking, talking embodiment of their social class. Their hopes, their fears, their political opinions, their definition of common sense, all of it is profoundly shaped by their material relationship to power and capital. Today, we are throwing out the pop psychology playbook. We are going deeper. We will provide a Marxist guide to reading people, not by decoding their individual quirks, but by deconstructing the class ideology that speaks through them. This is the skill that allows you to see the invisible matrix of society itself. They have built a prison for your mind. My name is Marx, and I am here to hand you the key. Welcome to Revolt Mind. Part 1. What is class? It's not about your bank account. Before we can read a person's class, we must discard the modern, simplistic definition of it. Class is not just about how much money you have. A lottery winner and a CEO might both be rich, but they do not belong to the same class. For Marx, class is defined by your relationship to the means of production. In simple terms, there are two great classes in a capitalist society: the bourgeoisie, the ownership class. They own the means of production, the factories, the land, the corporations, the software platforms. Their income comes from the profit generated by their capital. They own the system. The proletarian, the working class, they do not own the means of production. Their only significant asset is their ability to work. They must sell their time and labor to the bourgeoisie in exchange for a wage in order to survive. Between these two, there exists a complex middle ground, often called the petite bourgeoisie. These are small business owners, managers, highly paid professionals like doctors or lawyers. They may own some small capital, or their role is to manage the proletariat on behalf of the bourgeoisie. Their position is precarious. They aspire to be bourgeoisie, but live in constant fear of falling into the proletariat. Why is this important? Because your position in this structure fundamentally shapes your entire worldview. It creates what Marx called an ideology, a set of beliefs, values, morals, and assumptions that feels like objective common sense, but actually exists to justify and maintain your class position. The bourgeoisie develops an ideology that justifies their wealth, meritocracy, risk-taking, job creation. The proletariat develops an ideology based on their reality, solidarity, fairness, suspicion of authority. The petite bourgeoisie often become the most fervent defenders of the system because their ideology is built on the hope of one day joining the ownership class. So, when we read a person's class, we are not trying to guess their income. We're trying to identify the ideological software that is running in their mind. And that software reveals itself in 3 key dimensions. Part 2. The 3 dimensions of a Marxist reading. To read a person's class, you must learn to listen and observe on a new level. You are looking for the patterns that reveal their relationship to capital and power. Dimension number 1, the language of capital. How they talk about work, money, and time. The single most revealing indicator of a person's class is the language they use to describe the fundamental components of the economy. Listen closely. The proletariat speaks the language of the wage. Their world is defined by hourly rates, salaries, job security, benefits, and the rising cost of living. Time is something to be sold. The future is discussed in terms of retirement and pensions. A good job is a stable one. Their language is often focused on survival and fairness within the existing system. The bourgeoisie speaks the language of assets. Their world is defined by ROI, capital gains, market share, depreciation, and efficiency. Time is not something to be sold. It is something to be leveraged. Labor is not a human activity. It is a cost on a balance sheet. The future is discussed in terms of legacy and multi-generational wealth transfer. A good economy is one with high profits and a compliant workforce. The petite bourgeoisie speaks a fascinating, often contradictory language. They are obsessed with the grind, with hustle, because their personal hard work is directly tied to their success. They often adopt the language of the bourgeoisie, talking about my business, my brand, but still live with the anxieties of the proletariat, fear of failure, being overwhelmed by bigger competitors. They are the most likely to fiercely defend the myth of meritocracy because their entire identity is invested in the belief that they can make it. Pay attention. Does a person talk about their salary or their portfolio? Do they talk about job security or market opportunities? Their vocabulary is a direct window into the material reality that shapes their life. Dimension number 2, the horizon of possibility. How they view the future and risk. A person's class dictates their entire perception of time in the future. The proletariat horizon is often by necessity focused on the short term. The primary goal is stability and the avoidance of disaster. The future is about making it to the next paycheck, paying next month's rent, fixing the car. Long-term plans are luxury. Risk in this context is terrifying. Quitting a stable but soul-crushing job to start a business is not an exciting opportunity. It is a potential catastrophe that could lead to homelessness. Their horizon of possibility is limited by the constant pressure of immediate survival. The bourgeoisie horizon is long-term and expansive. Their future is not about survival, it is about accumulation and legacy. They think in terms of 5-year plans, 10-year trusts, and multi-generational dynasties. Risk is not a threat, but a calculated tool. They can afford to lose money on 9 ventures if the 10th one succeeds spectacularly. Their wealth acts as a safety net that allows for a vast horizon of possibility. They can afford to fail. When you listen to someone talk about their plans, what is the time scale? Are they worried about next week, or are they planning for the next decade? Do they see a new venture as a terrifying risk to their stability or as an exciting opportunity for growth? Their relationship with the future is one of the most accurate indicators of the material security or insecurity that defines their class. Dimension number 3, the unconscious ideology, their common sense. This is the deepest and most revealing dimension. Ideology is the set of assumptions a person holds that they don't even recognize as assumptions. They just think of it as the way the world works. Your task is to listen for this invisible software. How do they explain success and failure? Do they attribute wealth entirely to hard work and smart choices? This is the ideology of meritocracy, a cornerstone of bourgeois thought that conveniently ignores factors like inherited wealth, social connections, and systemic inequality. Do they attribute poverty to laziness or bad decisions? This is the other side of the meritocratic coin, a belief system that justifies inequality by blaming the victim. How do they view social problems? When discussing homelessness, do they talk about individual failings, or do they talk about housing policy and wage stagnation? When discussing corporate layoffs, do they say the workers should have had more skills? Or do they say the company chose to prioritize shareholder profits over its employees? The first view sees the world as a collection of individual choices. The second sees the world as a set of systems and structures. You are not listening for their stated political party. You are listening for their fundamental, unconscious explanation of how the world operates. That explanation is the purest expression of the class ideology they've internalized. Part 3. The strategic advantage of a Marxist reading. What is the point of this analysis? Is it to judge people and put them in boxes? No. The purpose of a Marxist reading is to achieve a profound and strategic level of understanding. First, it cultivates a deeper empathy. When you can see the ideological software a person is running, you stop arguing with the person and you start understanding the system that shaped them. You can understand why a small business owner is terrified of tax increases, or why a low-wage worker is suspicious of corporate promises. You see their opinions not as moral failings, but as the logical result of their material conditions. Second, it gives you a massive strategic advantage. In any negotiation, debate, or relationship, if you can understand the other person's underlying class interests and assumptions, you can predict their moves. You understand what they value, what they fear, and what they take for granted. You stop reacting to their surface-level arguments and start addressing their deep-seated ideological framework. Finally, and most importantly, it leads to class consciousness. The ultimate goal of reading the class of others is to finally, truly understand your own. You begin to see the ways in which your own common sense has been shaped by your position. You start to recognize the invisible software running in your own mind. This is the true awakening. It is the moment you move from being an unconscious actor within the system to a conscious strategist who can see the entire board. Final truth: read the map, not just the player. The world has trained you to focus on the individual, their personality, their flaws, their choices. This is a form of misdirection. It keeps you focused on the individual chess pieces, so you never see the hand of the player who moves them. A Marxist analysis gives you the ability to zoom out and see the entire game, to see the rules, the structure, and the forces that shape every move. You stop seeing people as random actors and start seeing them as representatives of larger forces, products of a history they did not choose. This knowledge is not a license for cynicism. It is a tool for a more profound understanding of the human condition. It is the beginning of real change, because you can only solve a problem once you can accurately diagnose it. Stop trying to read the person. Start reading the map of the world they were born into. Only then you will understand their moves. Your homework this week is to become a social analyst. Listen to one conversation on a podcast, in the news, or with a friend. Do not judge their opinion. Do not argue. Simply listen. Try to identify the ideology behind their words. What are their unspoken assumptions about work, money, success, and fairness? Try to read the map of their world. This is the first step to developing this powerful new lens on reality. If this video has changed the way you see the world, share it. There are others who are tired of looking at the pieces and are ready to see the whole board. Subscribe, because now that we can read the system, our next step is to learn how to change it. The analysis is complete. The next move is yours. I am Marx.